Okay, so welcome back to the Barber Biz Podcast. It is sponsored by soc.consulting. Today, we are doing something a little bit different. So usually, he is doing the interview with Dan Brown, and he is getting interviewed today. So welcome, Mr. Brown.
Hey, how are you? Your
Doing good.
You must be excited because your microphone's mad loud. Like you're talking like we're not in two different rooms. But
Well, first of all, I'm like mad loud anyway. So yeah.
Great.
All right. Well, welcome though. Welcome. Thanks for taking out the time out of your very busy schedule today to meet with me.
Great.
And to be on this interview with me. So let's grill him and find out about his deepest, darkest secrets.
So who are you again?
Oh, right. So I'm a terrible host. I'm sorry. So I'm Danielle, and I'm with Giselle Victoria here. So today I'm doing the interview with Dan Brown. All right. So Dan Brown, who are you? What do you do?
Who am I and what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm a husband.
What's your purpose in life?
I'm a father.
Yeah. Let's skip all that. Let's talk about what do you do in the work world. What's your job? What do you do?
What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting question. That's a loaded question. So my 9 to 5 job, I would say, is that I'm a barber instructor. I work at Atlanta Technical College. But before that, I worked at a couple other different private institutions. So my 9 to 5 job is that I am a barber instructor. But I do some other stuff on the side too.
Okay. All right. So how did you get into becoming a barber instructor?
How did I get into that? So basically, I got my barber license in 2003 after moving here from Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in school, a lot of people said that they thought that I'd be a good teacher. I didn't really believe them. I thought they were just talking. But I was never against it. It just never really crossed my mind. And eventually there was a school at the time that was called Cutting Edge. And they actually, and the school opened up pretty much right down the street from my house, from where I lived at the time. So it was almost too good to be true. The tuition was cheap and it was literally almost like in walking distance from home. And I walked in one day, the price was perfect. The distance was perfect. And the owner, I remember her saying, and for those of you out there watching right now, it's Ms. D from CEI. She was actually the owner and she was my instructor, fabulous instructor. And I remember her saying, like, you're going to be the one. Like, it was just kind of funny looking back. But
she said that to you? She said, you're going to be the one?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. So the thing about it was I started with probably 3 or 4 other people that were already barbers, like myself. And those 3 other people didn't make it, and I did. And, so it was just the situation just worked out perfectly to where, like I said, the location was perfect, the tuition was perfect, and the timing was perfect with where I was at as a barber. So that was
okay.
Yes,
so you were a barber before you got your instructor's license.
Well, I had to be. So you have to be a licensed master barber first for at least 3 years in order to be able to go and get your instructor's license.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, so, and that ruling has kind of changed over time sometimes. So state board at one point had it 1 year, then they moved it to 3. But in any event, I had my license for at least 6 years before I started instructor school.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So you say you were a barber. So you've been a barber for how long before you moved into a different aspect of your career?
It was 6 years.
6 years. So what made you decide that, you know what? I don't want to cut nobody's hair no more. I'm going to teach people how to cut some hair.
I mean, like I said, it was more so just the opportunity that presented itself.
Okay.
So once I kind of started teaching, I realized I was decent at it, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and I was afforded the opportunity to not only to be able to learn how to teach and get my hours as an instructor, because the hours for an instructor are 750 hours, clock
Mm-hmm.
hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to have the opportunity to not only still cut hair in the shop, but the hours were flexible enough to where I was able to still get my instructor's license when I wasn't at the shop. So the timing just worked out well.
Okay, that's good. All right. So now that you have your barber's license and now that you have your instructor's license, you've been teaching for how long? And what were some of the things you were able to accomplish in that teaching journey? What some of the high moments? What some of the low moments? What was? I know it's a whole bunch of questions. I'll try to remember to ask them.
Yeah, you asked like 7 questions. So, so basically, what was the first question? No, I'm just.
Oh my gosh.
So basically, so high and low moments. I mean, from now at this point, I've been teaching for a little over 10 years. So in that time period, I think the hardest challenge for me initially was balancing still cutting hair in the shop, but also to still teaching, getting my teacher's license. Then once I got my teacher's license, I became the director of the barber program. I was fortunate because I was able to then transition out of the shop and still be able to service my clients when at the school during the off hours. Mm-hmm. So I pretty much was able to kind of have my cake and eat it too. So when I'd be teaching, and what I actually would do, now that I think back, it used to be I'd work 9 to 3 in the morning shift, and you probably remember this. I would work 9 to 3 in the morning for the day class. And then the night class was 5 to 9. So that was right around the time when we had gotten married. So we used to have, where we lived in the apartment complex was right across the street.
Yeah.
So what was cool about that was I was making pretty good money for that time period, but it was hard work because it literally was that I'd be working 9 to 3 in a day shift. I'd start cutting some clients between that 3 to 5 period. Then I'd start teaching from 5 to 9. And usually towards the back end of that time, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, I was able to kind of still service some of my clients as demos to be able to show the students some of the techniques. But by that point, I was able to be really selective with my clients. So, I might get 1 or 2 people as demos in those evenings, but it worked out well because the students got to really see an instructor really cut on a high level at that time period. So, so that was really good. But highs and lows, I mean, it was a lot. I mean, at that point, eventually I transitioned to where I left that school and took a break from that because we opened up the barbershop, Crisp Cuts and Creations. Mm-hmm. And then ownership of a shop has its own challenges.
It's a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's a whole nother different situation. So then when you kind of fast forward to where I got back into teaching back in 2015, mm-hmm. after maybe about a 2 to 3 year break, give or take, mm-hmm. the challenge was working at a technical college, which is very different than working at a private school.
All right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because with the technical college, it's more of a structured system, whereas as a private school, they're more flexible. So now you kind of have to follow the rules somewhat, so to speak, kind of, or not really.
Well, I would put it this way. First and foremost, to all the instructors, cosmetology and barbers out there, we're all in the same family. You know what I mean? And I never talk bad about other schools. I never talk negatively about private school versus technical colleges because both have pros and cons. That's just mm-hmm. the way it is. So we're all technically under the same rules of state board, but it's just different because in private schools, they just go to, you start at 0 hours and then you accumulate up to 1,500. In technical college, you're still getting 1,500 hours. It's just broken down into college courses. So mm-hmm. instead of just being that you go over chapter 4 bacteriology, in technical college, there's a class that's called sanitation and sterilization that you take for that semester. Mm-hmm. So even though you're still going over the same chapter and the same content, it's broken down differently. So, mm-hmm. So I try to be very careful with trying to explain to people the differences between one and the other because both environments are very different. But can you succeed if you go to a private school? Absolutely. Can you succeed if you go to technical college? Absolutely. What I do like about technical college a little bit better personally mm-hmm. is I think that because we are state employees, we're held to a higher standard because we're state employees. So the wiggle room of kind of just doing what you want and kind of opening when you want and close when you want, it's just not the same. But I still have love for all the instructors that work in private schools. And we call them private schools because those are just schools that are basically brick and mortar buildings where an owner just puts in the stations, they hire instructors, and they start from the bottom up. There's still value in that, but you got to find instructors that really care.
Yeah, it's a lot of work,
and I think that's hard. in the private sector. And at the same time, too, what works well for them is that their focus is on getting clients in. So they can get a lot of clients in faster because they're a storefront 9 times out of 10. Technical college is like a college environment where if you don't know that the barber department is in that building, you're not going to get clients.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of a long-winded answer to say that there's pros and cons to both. But I'm not negative towards one or the other. But of course, my preference now at this point in my life, and for people to really get the most well-rounded education, to me, is technical college. Okay.
All right. So going back to a couple of things that you said in summarizing what you said. So you said you decided you want to start teaching, then you walk into this building to try and become a teacher or get your teacher's license. The director for that program looked at you and said, you're the one, or you're going to be the one, right? So then move on to that. You're in a technical school teaching, and then something just happened recently. Can you share with us what just happened recently at the technical school?
Yeah, so I had the honor and the privilege of being named Teacher of the Year for Atlanta Technical College.
That's pretty dope.
So thank you. So what's interesting about that is, so basically to kind of break this down, and this is all something I had to kind of get used to, because people would ask me, and my friends ask me now, like, wait a minute, there's barbering at a college? And basically in the state of Georgia, there's 22 technical colleges. So you got Athens Tech, Central Georgia Tech, you've got Chattahoochee Tech, you have Gwinnett Tech, you have Atlanta Tech, etc. Right? All those different schools have different programs. Some are bigger, some are smaller than others. But when it comes to the barber programs, there are, I believe, 13 or 14 schools that have barber programs right now. Atlanta Tech is still the biggest, but we're about to take it to a whole nother level. And I think that because I've tried my best to really be student-centered, I think that that's what's really helped me to grow as an instructor and to kind of be appreciated amongst the students and the faculty. Because this award actually goes out to those who've been at the school for at least 5 years. And we have over 200 to 250 full-time instructors. So of that 200 to 250 full-time instructors, all of them haven't been there 5 years, but I can guarantee that a pretty large percentage of them have. So for me to be nominated and be, it basically was narrowed down to 12 people. And then it went down to 4, and then I was picked as the one. And that's extremely humbling for me. For those who have known me for a long time, that knew me when I was in high school and was getting D's and F's, and it's, a friend of mine called me when I posted on my Instagram, and he said, we never would have imagined this when we were back in high school, So it's a tremendous honor. And, I just hope to be able to help to push the barber culture forward, and, as far as my college is concerned.
Yeah, I'm super proud of you. That's a huge accomplishment. And it's interesting though, because I remember you wrote a book about kind of like a life story, kind of somewhat, about becoming a barber. And then you had like a second book coming up, which is kind of interesting because even before you were awarded Teacher of the Year, you had started writing that book. Right. So that book is geared towards instructors and how to become a great educator, something like that. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, great segue. You've been learning. It's good. So the first book, which came out back in 2017, was Journey to State Board, the mental guide to pass the state board exam. And what that was a story about a lot of things in my life leading up to when I took my state board exam. Back in Boston, where I'm originally from. So basically, Giselle must be over there. Okay.
We're looking crazy. I'm like,
it's okay. They know what it is. So basically, what's interesting about it is, it details some things that led up to a lot of the challenges that I had growing up, leading up to me taking my test. I talk about the feelings that I had in my stomach. I talk about the emotions that were kind of going through me when I took my test. But then the second half of the book actually talks about every section of the exam and a lot of tips to help people to pass it. So even though different states have different standards in terms of what's on their barber test, the majority of the sections are listed in this book, from the haircut to the shade to the facial to the blow dry. So I give you a lot of little tips that help you to be able to pass the test and kind of ease your mind and anxieties. So moving on from that, I started working on a book called 20 Ways to Be a Great Educator. And that book is actually in the editing process right now. And now it's probably going to be coming out a lot sooner than I even thought, now that I won Teacher of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I'm just saying, people, why not get this book? Because, I mean, it's written by a teacher that was awarded Teacher of the Year even before he knew he was going to be Teacher of the Year. So now that he's Teacher of the Year, you want to get that book.
Yeah, that is true. I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, so it's in the editing process now. And like I said, and what I did was I took 20 specific traits or 20 specific things and really put them on paper and really broke them down in terms of what it takes to be a great educator. And it doesn't mean, let me just make sure I say this, it doesn't mean that I have all the answers.
Right, yeah, but you have good information.
But I have most of them. No, because in the course of teaching, you run across a lot of different instructors. You have a lot of different experiences. You have some good, you have some bad. So for me, from my perspective, this book is good because it's going to give you some specific things that you can point to and some tangible things that you can do in the classroom. But it also gives you a lot of different experiences, some good, some bad, of things that I've seen, things that I experienced. And in that way, as you go to become an instructor, an educator in any field, you're going to be able to benefit from this. So I don't care if you're a mechanic and you own a shop, or if if you're a dentist, if you're a nurse, if you're in any way, shape, or form in some type of leadership capacity, then you can utilize this book. It's just that it's specified for those that are in the beauty and barber industry, because most of us in some way, shape, or form always think about becoming educators or instructors. Okay. So that's why it's geared towards barbers, cosmetologists, estheticians, nail techs, because we're all under the same umbrella. But anybody who wants to do any kind of education, whether it's in a classroom or whether it's in trade shows, whatever the case is, you're going to be able to get a lot of information from this.
All right. So, every good movie has a trailer or a preview. Okay. So we already know this book is going to be good. So can you give us a trailer or a preview, so to speak, about maybe one tip or a half of one tip or a quarter of one tip?
So I'll say this. That's a good question. So I have a few, but what I'll do is I'll relay one experience. Okay. Now, I want to give a big shout out to a friend of mine, Keisha Hudson, in paralegal. She works at Atlanta Tech, and she kind of helped to do like this preliminary reading of the book, of the new book that's about to come out. And when she was reading through it, she said, Dan, you've got to add more and more experiences, because you gave this one experience and it was just really good. So one of the experiences that you're going to read about in the book is at one point I was working as a consultant, and I was helping at another school to be able to teach the instructor class. So what that means is that there was a school and they had the barber students in one lab floor and they were working, but then they had 5 or 6 instructors, or student instructors, I should say, that were getting their hours to become licensed instructors. I was hired as a consultant to be able to teach the student instructors from the textbook from Milady to help them pass their state board exam. So they would be on the lab floor working with students. And then once it got to 3 o'clock, I'd come in and I would have the student instructors in the class, and I would be teaching them how to manage the classroom, how to deal with conflict resolution with students, how to drop a lesson plan. So what was interesting was one day, one of the student instructors was working in the lab floor, and there was a student that was cutting the client's hair, and the instructor basically took the clippers out of the student's hands. And I remember so the student's standing there, the student stands back, and the client was a young lady. So the barber basically took the whole haircut over, and he was doing it to show off. I don't even know if I told you this story. I probably did. So he starts cutting the lady's hair, And he's talking about like, yeah, because I work for Andy's, they give me clippers and and he's cutting. And the students kind of start to gather around. Now I'm kind of just watching from afar because it wasn't that from the outlook, it seemed like he was doing anything wrong, but it just seemed like he was doing it for the wrong reasons. It's
Attention.
just like this whole look at me thing. Mm-hmm. So students are eating it up, and they're just like, oh, wow. Like, oh, you see how he did this? See how he did that? Da, da, da. So he's cutting and he's stepping back and, he's doing his thing. I'm just kind of like in the background.
I know how much you like that stuff.
Right. So the cut finishes, right? He takes the mirror and he's like still talking like, yeah, because it's important for you to da-da-da-da, talking to the student, hands the client the mirror. So the client gets the mirror and it's like, this isn't what I wanted. So the guy, the student instructor, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, what'd you say? She's like, this isn't what I wanted. I mean, is the manager here, the owner here? So the students start to kind of ease back away, like, and then he's trying to explain stuff. So I'm not gonna lie, I kind of chuckled on the inside. And so the owner comes over, they have a discussion, and it's not a good look. The client eventually was calmed down. She could have handled it a lot worse. I don't even remember specifically what it was that was wrong, whatever the case was. But the lesson for it is, and this is a part of the book, this is in one of the chapters. And the chapter is entitled, I believe it's entitled, or one of the subtitles is, It's Not About You.
Yep.
and one of the things that I've noticed as instructors is we tend to focus on what we can do and showing what we can do and showing how well we can speak and showing how well we can do X, Y, and Z. But the fact of the matter is that it's not about you. It's not about what I can do. It's about giving all the information to our students. Mm-hmm. So that kind of arrogance and that kind of overconfidence on that day really jacked this guy up because it wasn't that he couldn't cut hair because he was a good barber. Mm-hmm. But the most basic thing, having a great client consultation, is what he jacked up. Yeah. So because of that, I mean, the students that day were looking crazy because it was like their hero just got like dunked on. So that's just one example from that's a teaser from the book because that's just one example of something in regards to what's going to make you a great educator is recognizing that it's not about you. Yeah. And as soon as you get over the fact that it's not about you, the more you're going to be willing to serve other people. Yeah. And so that's a big part of it.
Well, that was good. I appreciated hearing that. So that's definitely something, instructors want to be aware of because I like that saying, it's not about you. I like it. But it's true. But I appreciate you coming today and I appreciate you sharing some little gems with us. And I appreciate, you being able to give us a little preview into the book. So definitely you want to make sure anybody who's watching, you, make sure that you get the book when it comes out and he'll post on his Instagram page. If you're not following him, it is soc.consulting.
Yep. soc.consulting. And I also want to say this too while we're on, because, my sister Rachel, she was an important factor in me starting as a barber. And for those of you that haven't checked out her interview with the Barber Biz Podcast, you can go back and check her out. It's at RL Hair Lounge. And what's interesting is she had told me the day after I interviewed her, or that right after the interview ended, she was like, somebody's got to interview you. And I was kind of, I'm not. Right. But then once I actually won this award, I knew that you were going to pressure me to do this. So I said, let me just do it before Danielle sweats me about doing it. So, but in the reality, it is important because I think that what I'm trying to do as an instructor now is it's just very different than it used to be. We've got to be innovative. We've got to be able to teach online. We've got to be able to teach face to face. You've got to be able to give students content in ways that we've never had before. Mm-hmm. You have to embrace being able to use online platforms and tools. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, as usual, you can check us out at sheervercomb.org. But officially dropping today is the Master Barber State Board Prep app.
Yeah.
Barber State Board Prep app. And
that's going to be a game changer, because personally for me, I've had difficult tests to take before, and having an app to help me prepare for that test, I'm telling you, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be doing what I need to do, you know? So definitely this is good. And the favorite feature about this is it's mobile. So you can have it on your phone, you can bring it wherever you go. You can take it in the toilet with you. Listen, it is, no, I mean, you can take it anywhere. It's like, because sometimes you just waste time maybe scrolling through Instagram or something. And it's great that it's on your phone, because the time that you're using to do stuff like that, just flip over, go to the app and just start preparing for your test. And so.
Yeah. So the good thing about it too is, just to add on to that. So it's Android ready. It's Apple ready.
Okay, good.
If you have a tablet, if you have an iPad.
Can you use on your desktop?
No. So for the desktop, and I'm glad you asked that. So this is specifically an app for devices.
Okay.
So when it comes to your phone, your tablet, your iPad, your iPhone, this is what you want. This is what you want. The Master Barber State Board app. I gave some people a sneak peek of it yesterday, and I already have a lot more downloads. We're very fortunate to already have so many downloads and people who are appreciating this app. You can check out the podcast on it. You can check out some free videos. But the most important part of this app is, if you're an apprentice, if you are a student who is going through school and you're having a hard time testing, and you want to have some of these tests at your fingertips, then you're going to be able to utilize this app to continue to test yourself and practice these exams. Because, that's what you want to do in terms of getting prepped and getting ready for the actual state board written exam.
Yeah.
There's a feature on there where you can get all these different tests about all the different content, from properties of the hair to treatment of the hair to chemical restructure to men's hair pieces to hair coloring, everything that you need. Yeah. And there's also another feature on there where you can get our state board prep practical videos. You can have those at your fingertip as well. So that's for the app. If you would like to have it on your desktop, make sure you check out ShiraComb.org, because ShiraComb.org, you get the same resources, but more, because on the desktop platform, you're able to get the same videos, high quality, have it on your desktop, your laptop, whatever you need. And you can get the same resources, but there's actually more content on the website, because that can just store more information. But either way, ShiraComb.org, you can download the app Master Barber State Board Prep. And we're just trying to help, So like I said, if you're a student, if you're an apprentice, this is what you want. This is what you need. And it's only going to help.
Good. All right. Great things, exciting things. It's a good year so far. It's only February 16 and a lot of work has been done. So let's keep it going. As you would say, let's keep pushing the culture forward. Let's get these people licensed. And thank you so much again for joining us today. So once again, this is a Barber Biz Podcast. Am I doing it right?
I'm just going to let you just end it.
Sponsored by soc.consulting. Am I doing it right? Yeah. That's it. I don't know how you end it. How do you wrap it up? I don't know. Bye?
Good. Yeah, bye. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. On behalf of, I was about to say your nickname that I shouldn't say on camera. On behalf of Giselle Doc Victoria Hare, on behalf of soc.consulting, on behalf of Dani Brown Realty, on behalf of ShiraComb.org, on behalf of Master Barber State Board Prep app. Appreciate you, Danielle. Appreciate my family, all my friends, all those who have been supporting all these years. And yeah, we got big things coming. So,
big things, yes. Yeah, man.
All
right. So a little more.
Appreciate it.
All right.